The Joe Rogan Experience.
So when you first start rapping, like you rapping with kids in your neighborhood, are you like aspiring to be a rapper and writing shit down and trying things on your friends? Like, how do you get started?
Well, the way that I started, I was writing, like poetry first. And,
really?
Yeah.
Like what kind of poetry?
Just like, like hood stuff, just stuff that rhymed, but like just sort of writing it down. Like it was almost like writing raps, but it just, it's without saying it, right? Because you read it and shit like that, whatever. But I would just write poetry about, everyday shit. You know what I mean? Nothing, I wasn't like doing like I don't know if there's like categories of poetry, but it was just stuff that would happen from day to day, And I had a knack for writing. I realized that. And I always wanted to be a journalist. That's, what
really?
the thing that I thought I was going to be at school, right?
Do you write now?
I was for a while, but I looked at it.
What kind of stuff?
Just, again, everyday stuff, or, I'd like randomly pick something to write about. So if it was about the cannabis industry, I'd write something about that. If it was about the music industry, I'd write something about that. Like I every now and then I would, there was back in the early 2000s, there was a magazine called Industry Insider Magazine. And occasionally I would write articles for that. I wasn't really that great because, I was so spotty in school that, it needed work, but
Grammar.
they left it raw the way that I would put it out there. And people got my point, and that was cool. But I looked at it in the way that the music that I've done and a lot of the songs serve as a certain form of journalism for me, bringing up certain issues that people don't necessarily hear, like Throw Your Set in the Air is a song on Temple's Boom, and it's a song about how you would get, inducted into a gang, how you get put into a gang, how you fall into it. And some people might think, by hearing it, that it was glorifying it and praising it, but it wasn't. It was basically, this is how it is. This is so the signs to look for if your kids are, fucking around with the wrong people, and that's, I took it like, okay, maybe I'm not a journalist like I intended to be, but this is my way of it. I can enlighten people with certain things. And, like anything, somebody's going to read something or hear something and maybe misinterpret what you say. But, it's all about who's listening and who's reading and who's watching and stuff like that and their interpretation of it. And some get it, some don't. And that's just the nature of it. But like most people get it. And I've come across people that have come to me and come and said, hey man, your songs on Temple of Boom, man, they helped to get me through these times, or these songs raised me, they taught me this and that.
That's awesome.
And to me, that's the impact right there. That's the shit that means more than anything.
Right, because I'm sure you remember songs that got you through, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. There was songs from KRS-One and Public Enemy that, got me through and fired me up. And inspired and stuff like that.
KRS-One's another one people forget about, man. I'll be in my car just going, whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police.
Yeah,
whoop,
I mean, he taught me how to be a bullhorn. You know what I mean? Like tell the truth. Your truth. Get the word out, and not be fearful of what might happen, because he could have been one of the biggest stars in hip hop. He chose not to be. He chose to be a voice, and sometimes in being that voice, you get objects put in front of you, and certain opportunities don't, get put on your table. Because
he says some great shit, man. He was talking about getting mad at the president. It's like being mad at the manager at McDonald's. Yeah, for the way the corporation's being run. Yeah,
he is very insightful in the shit that he says, and he is very unafraid to state it and state his opinion.
For you to get like people coming up to you when they first started coming up to you, telling you that your music got them through things, that it means so much to them, when that first started happening, that must have been surreal.
Because as an artist, especially as a young artist, that's not something you think about. Oh, right. Well, these songs are gonna. Well, it depends on the artist you are, right?
You guys hit. How old were you? Like 23 or something like that. How old were you when
that was like we released in 91 and it really started going for us in 92, so I was 22.
You're a kid.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yep, there goes the baby fro.
Wow. Wow. Look at the baby fro.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about that, man. That is so crazy for you to go from the guy who, yo, MTV Raps.
Yeah.
Who remembers that?
I did a bungee jump at this spring break with Tretch from Naughty by Nature.
Was that the one that was in Cancun?
No, that was Daytona Beach right there.
Oh, okay.
When MTV was still allowed over there.
Was back when MTV had music.
Yeah, when they had music format.
MTV was music videos.
Yeah.
Good luck finding a fucking music video now. I guess they still have
You got to go to
them,
YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow, that's wild. What was it like when it first started popping off and you were 22 years old? Did it feel real?
It was a crazy thing because it's not something that I had ever envisioned happening. You know, I didn't think that, you know, the music would blow up like that. You know, we were doing it to obviously try and make a name for ourselves and make music that people like. But fuck, we didn't see that coming at all. Especially with Insane in the Brain. When they told me when Killer Man started going, it was like surreal because, you know, we didn't think that song would take just because of the chorus itself. Mm-hmm. You know, fuck what the song is about. You know, we knew that the chorus was, you know, what they were going to hear more than anything. And so, we thought, we're going to have a good underground album. We didn't realize it would blow up. We didn't think they were going to put Killer Man in the Juice movie.
Yeah.
And that would blow that song up even more so than it was getting. Because we had released Funky Philwin's first, and it was a double A-side single, Funky Philwin and Killer Man on the other A-side, which means at that time that DJs had the option of which song they wanted to go, whereas most of the time you had an A-side, B-side, and the A-side is most definitely the one that the record company wants you to push. We gave it a double A-side because we thought maybe the DJs would like Killer Man more. They went with Funky Philwin, the record company, because they figured it would be easier to market, right? And then the DJ started flipping the record.
Of course.
And we started getting traction behind that. Our record was out like 6 months, had dropped off the chart, and they flipped the record. Our shit slowly starts to go back up the chart. We got back on the chart and started climbing, and we were getting a whole lot of mix show play. And then we started doing a lot of promotional shows, that being one of them, and it started going. And Killer Man started getting us going, and we toured for probably a year and a half, like a lot of promotional shows, you know, not getting paid, you know, just, you know, Sony having us out there promoting the record. And by the time our record got back up into the middle of the charts, I mean, it was still rising, and they saw that. They were like, we got to get them off the road and making a new record. So that's when we got out there with Black Sunday. And with Black Sunday and Insane coming out, again, that's not a song I thought would blow up. When they chose that for the single, I'm like, well, all right, there's better songs, but fuck it. That's the one. Okay. So it comes out, boom, it explodes. And now we have our Black Sunday charting at #1 coming in, and our first album had come all the way from the bottom to hit #5. So we had two albums in the top 10 of the 200 songs, you know, on the chart, which no one had ever done in hip hop before. We had 1 in 5 slot. Wow. And we definitely didn't think that was going to happen. I mean, you know, it was all a surprise, and it went from 1 minute you could go to a mall and be, you know, unassuming and nobody even knows who the fuck you are, and, you know, you're getting about your day, to now you go to the mall and the whole fucking mall is swarming on you like fucking, you're like, you know, Paul McCartney or something. It was the craziest shit. They would ask us to leave the malls. Like, really? Yeah, like I used to go to this one called the Montebello. It was in Montebello. I can't remember what the name of the mall was, but it was in Montebello, the only one down there at the time. And we knew everybody there, you know, as we're coming up, because that's where we'd go shop. So, you know, you make friends and people in the shop and stuff like that. And when we come back off a tour this time and try to go to that mall, one of our friends fucked up and wore a Cypress Hill jacket.
Oh.
And that's like a fucking billboard when you're standing next to one of us, right? So before you know it, boom, we get swooped and
This is pre-cell phone too.
Yeah, and the mall security comes, hey man, I know it's fucked up, but you guys gotta go. Really? It's like, yeah, man, it's a commotion. You guys gotta go. They're telling me. I'm like, they think somebody's gonna fight. I'm like,
wow.
All right. I never went back to that mall after that. I was like, all right, cool. Because, one, I didn't want to cause them problems. Two, it was tough to go somewhere at that time and not get,
swarmed.
Not get swarmed. Yeah, it was quite an experience, man. Like, because you only ever hear about it till it happens. And you might, if you have friends in the industry and it's happening for them, you might see it indirectly, like through their shit. And, we had friends in the business, Kid Frost was one of my friends before we got out there. And
is he still around?
Yeah, he still does stuff, I don't know if he's putting out so much new music these days, but he's still here and there. He's doing some of the cannabis industry stuff too, because he's a big connoisseur. I gotta tell you, my man used to smoke like a train, man. Like him and I would trade joints off left and right. But, for a time, I would go hang with him at his gigs. I'd be his bodyguard because I was the one that was not afraid to carry the hammer, meaning the magnum in my waistline. We were cowboys, man. We were always armed at that time from 89 to probably 97 or 98. We were holding pistols on our hip like cowboys, and he knew that. So he would ask me to go to the gigs, double as his bodyguard. I wasn't his bodyguard, but I was his bodyguard, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'd see the way he handled it, and I'd see the way people crowded around him, and so I learned how to deal with it, watching how he would do it in a negative way or a positive way, because he was sometimes embrace the crowd, sometimes he's like, fuck off me, like a lot of artists are, and that sort of prepared me so that when we got in our lane, I knew how to sort of deal with it, and I was always courteous and cool and respectful, and never the guy that's like, nah man, fuck that, get out of here. Because I see it, and some of my homies were like that, and I hated the feeling that when the fans would walk away, just totally fucking wind out of their sails and shit like that.
Yeah.
Now they don't like this artist ever again, and I saw that, and I never wanted to have anyone walk away with that experience. So I always embraced it, even when it was a pain in the ass, So.